Okay, back in the chair finally, and let's see how this, review goes. Hi, my name is Charles, and today on my channel, I'm going to be talking about the new TV show, The Sandman from Neil Gaiman, that's currently premiering on Netflix. The show just dropped on August 5th, and it's a show I have been waiting for. I remember hearing the announcement that Neil Gaiman's The Sandman was going to be a TV show. I remember that there was an Audible like version of it with like James McAvoy and Kat Denning and a bunch of other people. So it kind of was confusing to me when those things were going to come out because the news for both of them were kind of swirling around kind of at the same time like a year or two ago. But the TV show is finally here, and it just the name Sandman really like percolated in my mind when I heard it announced because I was like, why does this sound so familiar? And then I realized that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was supposed to be in a movie version of it, but apparently that fell through. But you know what? That might be for the best. That might have been for the best. But to get things started, the show follows, Dream, aka Morpheus, aka, the king of dreams dash nightmares. And he has been, captured by a mortal wizard of sorts. And, basically the first episode is just showing how he was captured and how long he's been captured and him basically escaping. And, it sets up like the premise for the first half of the show of what Dream has to go through. And that was something I wasn't expecting, that the show, like this first season, was split into two arcs. Because I would say episodes 1 through 6 kind of are one arc in themselves, and then 7 through 10 is a different arc entirely, which is fine, but I gotta admit, the first arc, episodes 1 through 6, was more compelling than, the episodes in 7 through 10, the second arc. So the first arc of the show is basically, Morpheus being captured, escaping, and then the rest of the arc is him going on this journey to find all the items of his that were stolen in order for him to become back at full strength. And I gotta say, the first arc, as I said, is my favorite part of the show. It just had more tension and it had a lot more stuff going for it creatively. I just thought what was going on in the first arc was just more compelling to watch. I remember when the show came out, like at midnight, I watched the first 3 episodes like until it was basically 4 in the morning, and then I said, okay, I gotta stop because I am tired and I got stuff to do the next day. But when I finished the first arc of the show, I was like, this was amazing. And then it led into the second arc, which was not amazing, but as I said before, it just was not as strong. Okay, so arc 2 is titled basically The Doll's House, and it has to do with like the serial killer convention that like the one of the villains of the show, the Corinthian, is involved with, and it also has to do with like a dream vortex, which is a person. And it's not that this stuff wasn't interesting to watch, it just the way they presented this arc of the show, it felt very not tense at all. It felt very non-major. It felt like we were observing it happen, but there was no major stakes, even though there were stakes. I don't know. I don't know why the second arc didn't hit enough for me, but it just didn't. But it was good. So all I gotta say is the show is strong, but that first arc of the show, episodes 1 through 6, like 6 is like the transition point from the first to second arc. I still count it in the first arc for me, but like episodes 1 through 6 I found very strong, and 7 through 10 they were good, but not as strong as any of the episodes in episodes 1 through 6. 1 through 6 is honestly very spectacular like TV show. 7 through 10 felt very weak, but still good TV. I gotta say, my favorite episodes of the season were definitely, hands down, episodes 4, 5, and 6. That 3-episode run is just fantastic. It's very compelling to watch, and basically it totals around almost 3 hours, but it flies by. Episode 5, it took a while for that episode to kick into gear, but once it kicked into gear, I was like, baby, this is amazing. But yeah, 4, 5, 6, those episodes really got me. They really spoke to me a lot and really made me feel a lot of emotions while watching. So those, in my opinion, are the best episodes on this season. Once again, not saying that the episodes from like the second arc aren't good, or like the previous episodes in the first arc weren't good. It's just that episodes 4, 5, and 6, what goes on in those episodes really just spoke to me on like a personal level. See, I don't know how comics accurate this adaptation is, but apparently Neil Gaiman really had like a lot of things to contribute to this, and he oversaw it. And apparently, he's very happy with the final product. So as long as he's happy with the final product, then I don't really think anyone should have anything to say. I know there might be purists who will be like, oh, it's not exactly like the comics, but once again, as long as Neil Gaiman is happy, then it should be all fine. I forgot to say this earlier, but my introduction to Neil Gaiman was the iconic Coraline. I mean, I remember when the movie was going to come out, they were like, oh, it's based off a book. And back then, I was really a book nerd. I was always reading. So I checked out Coraline and I said, ooh, let's read this book since I might not be able to watch the movie because back then, like, I was not able to watch movies because of like the financial situations of my family at the time. So books from the library were like the easiest way for me to basically like imagine movies basically and all that. But yeah, Coraline was the first introduction for me to Neil Gaiman, and then shortly after Coraline it was Stardust. That was a great movie that my parents rented from Blockbuster. But yeah, those two things, Coraline and Stardust, were my introduction to Neil Gaiman. I know he did like American Gods on Stars, but I didn't watch that because I heard it was a little too complicated. But with this, I was just like, from the trailers and from what I can like kind of ascertain from some of the things I read, this might be more up my alley. And after watching the whole show, I gotta say, yes, this show is very much up my alley. And God, they announced that a season 2 is in the works, and y'all better not be playing with me, Netflix. You better not be playing because this show is one of the best things they've produced, especially recently. And they've been talking about how they want a franchise thing, and it's like, girl, if you want a franchise thing, here it is right here. For TV shows especially, this is it. This is your next big thing. Like, pour your time, money, and energy into this because this is such a fantastic show. And because there's so much more, like, comics of the Sandman, like, there's a lot more to mine here. And this show does an amazing job, in my opinion. Like, not only giving you a great first season, but planting the seeds for future seasons. And, with movies and TV shows today, a lot of people love to, like, just set up. They love to set up something and be like, oh, watch out for the next movie or the next season, and it's gonna be crazy. But then that first initial thing is just bland, and you're never promised the next thing. So the show, as I said, just does an amazing job of giving you something amazing and planting the seeds for even more amazing things to come. Touching on the cast real quick, I gotta say, the casting directors of the show did amazing. Their work was amazing because the way they found every single actor for this show and that every single actor fit perfectly in their role is just amazing. I really do think casting directors should get more, like, appreciation because without them, like, we wouldn't get such amazing actors to be put in the correct roles. But moving on to the cast, Tom Sturridge as Dream, he was amazing. He's ethereal in the show, and I really could not imagine anyone else other than Tom being Dream. I mean, I looked through his filmography, and there's not really much there, and I haven't really seen him in anything, but I recently learned that he is a double Tony nominee, so clearly he does more theater work, so he's clearly more of a theater actor, but he was just amazing as Dream. Like, once again, ethereal, and I don't think anyone else could have done the job like he did. Like, after seeing this whole show, I'm just like, yeah, no one else could have done this, in my mind anyway. You have Patton Oswalt as Matthew the Raven, but he's a voice, so, take that as you will. He does good voice work, but he's not something I really think about when I think about the show. But the only other person who has a lot more, like, episodes than just, like, one or two would have to be the person who plays Lucian, Vivian. I'm gonna mess up her last name, so I'm not gonna say it, but starts with an A. But she was fantastic in the show as well. But yeah, these four people are the only ones who get a lot of screen time. Everyone else, from like Jenna Coleman to Gwendolyn Christie to Mark Hamill, all these people only get like one or two episodes, which is sad because like I thought they did great, especially Gwendolyn Christie and oh my god, what's the name of the person who plays Desire? Mason Alexander Park. That's the person who plays Desire, and they did an amazing job playing Desire, but very few crumbs of them in this show, and I think that might be because they're saving Desire for more in the future, but I just gotta say, we need more Desire because Desire seemed like a very interesting villain, but they didn't really show much of Desire, which is why I'm like, ooh, you teased this villain but you're like, there's more to come, there's more to come. In the final episode with Desire's like, ooh, I've gotten under your skin, but next time I'll draw blood. And I'm like, ooh, baby, oh God, learn to stop. But it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with Desire in the future. Quick shout out to Alan Heinberg, who's one of the creators of the show alongside Neil Gaiman and David S. Goyer. Alan Heinberg, if you didn't know, is the person who wrote the screenplay for the first Wonder Woman movie. That movie was very great, and when he wasn't asked back to do the second movie, I thought that might be problematic because he was the writer of the first movie, and getting a different writer could change the tone. And watching Wonder Woman 1984, I'm like, oh yes, the tone was very much different. Lots of problems came up. Like, oh my God. I remember watching the second Wonder Woman for the first time, and I was like, oh, this is cute. But then when people started pointing out the problems, I was like, oh, right. Y'all are right about that. And then my mind said, this is why you shouldn't have gotten rid of Alan. Alan, my gay bitch. He said, like, y'all don't want me? Well, have fun crashing. And that's exactly what happened with Wonder Woman 1984. It crashed and burned. And I'm like, that's why you gotta have the gay with you. You gotta have the gay with you. And, apparently Alan Heinberg originally created the Young Avengers, like that whole comic thing. And I'm like, well, guess what, baby? Gays stay winning. Gays stay winning. Employ the gays because the gays know what people want and what people need, even though if they don't think they need it. Because gay people are pretty much at the forefront of stuff. The LGBTQ community, we rule. Speaking of gay, this show is hella gay. I mean, there's gay left and right, and I'm just like, I live for it. Like, when it comes to representation in media, I'm like, what was going on in this show was some of the best. It wasn't cloying, it just felt very natural and yeah, of course they're gay, and this is what happens, and yeah, I need more of this, more stuff like this when it comes to LGBTQ content, because a lot of LGBTQ content out there these days seems very oh yeah, we did that, and it's like, but you didn't, and this seems very fake or very stereotypical. So more LGBTQ content like this show, please. And I hope this show gets a big following because it deserves. Not only because it's gay, but because it's just really, really good in general. The show is currently at an 85% certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, which is great. That's great. But we got to keep the momentum going. Apparently, it's number one in multiple countries around the world right now, which is, once again, great. But we need to keep it going because I don't know how Netflix is going with their cancellation things. I mean, they've already reported that a season 2 is in the works, but you never know with Netflix. You never know with streaming services nowadays. They just be changing their mind left and right. So please, let's all make sure this show gets a second season, and Netflix release a physical copy of the first season on Blu-ray. Preferably, because I want to own it just in case y'all decide not to continue forward. That way I can have a physical copy for myself, just in case one day y'all Warner Brothers streaming, HBO Max, Discovery, whatever the heck they call themselves now, start taking things off their service just to be tax fraud off. I don't want that. So release a physical edition of this because it is very much needed. For me, at least. Overall, this is a great show. It's a great first season, and I implore anyone who hasn't already checked it out to check it out because it is so worth your time in this age of so much TV shows being released. This is top-notch quality, and it deserves to be seen and supported. So please go watch it if you haven't already because, once again, it's that girl, and it deserves your attention and time. Seriously, I already bought the first hardback deluxe first book edition of the Sandman, but after watching the first few episodes, I was like, okay, let's get the rest of them. And luckily, I was able to get books 2 through 5 of the hardbound deluxe editions on Amazon with pretty cheap because it was $30 each, and then they had a coupon for $5 off for each book. So I got it, and now they're basically all at $40 now without that coupon clip. So I got in just in time to get all the books and in pretty good pricing. So once again, if you can't wait I can't wait to see what happens in the future, check out the comics, because sometimes if I like something enough and they're based off a book or a comic, I will read it. And this is one of those situations where I was like, let's just buy it, because if if the comics are anything like the show is, then I'm gonna love it, so might as well just own it. Well, that was my whole review of the Sandman Season 1, now on Netflix. I hope you guys enjoyed my whole little review / rant that I went on. This is one of the first videos I've made in a while because of, me being lazy, dash, heat wave that made it hard to film. But I had a great time watching the show and filming this review. And tell me down below in the comments what you guys thought about the show, what you thought about my opinions. If you have negative opinions, then don't comment at all because I am tired and don't have time or energy for that. So only good stuff in the comments, please, please. I know I say that and people are gonna disregard that, but you know what? Please, please, please. I don't know how people have time to leave negative comments, Anyways, you guys, thank you for coming to my channel and watching this whole review, and I'll see you guys around in the next video if you're around for that. So until then, I'm gonna go now. So yes. Okay. Thank you guys. Bye.